Everybody, good afternoon and welcome to the United Stands. We've got some breaking news for you as Sir Jim Ratcliffe reveals his plans to not renovate, rebuild Old Trafford in a different location, within a same location. But what I mean is it's not about renovation, it's about a rebuild, and it's probably not that shocking for some, but we'll delve into it. We've also got some quotes coming out from Lord Sebastian Coe, from Sir Jim Ratcliffe himself, and from Gary Neville, who will be involved in this. So we can give you those quotes as well. They're literally just breaking this second. So, there has been some talk of it for the last half an hour since it came out in the Telegraph, but the quotes directly from Gary Neville have only just this second come out, so we can give you those as well. Let me just give you a breakdown of it. So it reads like this. Manchester United have constructed an expert task force to explore options for Old Trafford regeneration. A joint task force get me fucking words out. A joint task force has been created to explore options for regenerating the Old Trafford area of Greater Manchester, with the development of a world-class football stadium at the heart of that project. The Old Trafford Regeneration Task Force will bring together local leaders and national experts to examine how stadium development can support renewal of an area of the city with rich industrial history and huge potential for the future. Chaired by Lord Sebastian Coe, the person who was part of the 2012 London Olympics, the task force will assess the feasibility of a new stadium of national significance equipped to host international games and finals, as well as providing a modernised new home for Manchester United. Other members will include Andy Burnham, who is the Mayor of Greater Manchester, Sarah Todd, Chief Executive of the Trafford Council, and Gary Neville, former captain of Manchester United. What this is all about, in plain English, is Man United trying to get money from the government to build a new stadium and regenerate that area. I don't want to get political on anybody, but it's that's basically what it is. Sir Jim Ratcliffe mentioned it before. This is about getting a load of government money pumped into Manchester to regenerate an area and build a new stadium that we don't have to pay for ourselves. And from a business point of view, it's very clever. I mean, it's not the same as what Man City did with Abu Dhabi and the Commonwealth Games, but Man City ended up with a new ground which was built for the Commonwealth Games. West Ham did something similar with the Olympics. So, look, you can get your vote in about whether you want a new stadium or to renovate Old Trafford. You know where I am on this, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But let's get some quotes from the key players. Gary Neville had this to say: I'm incredibly fortunate to have had the privilege of playing hundreds of games at Old Trafford, and no one can take away those amazing memories. Well, you can if you knock it down and build a new one. But Old Trafford has evolved throughout its history, and it's clear we are at a point where it has to change again to ensure that Manchester United has a world-class stadium befitting the world's greatest club. While I want the best for Manchester United, I also want the same for the surrounding community. Old Trafford should be a stadium that the whole of Greater Manchester can take pride in and be a catalyst for sustainable, cohesive growth in an area of the city that has been neglected for too long. Sir Jim Ratcliffe says this can be a major regeneration project for an area of Greater Manchester which has played such a key role in British industrial history, but which today requires new investment to thrive again. The northwest of England has a greater concentration of major football clubs than anywhere else in the world, yet we don't have a stadium on the scale of Wembley, the Nou Camp or the Bernabeu. We will not be able to change that on our own, which is why this task force is important to help us seize this once in a century opportunity. And I think that's basically what I was saying there. Man United can't afford to build a stadium. So what they're going to do is they've come up with a plan where we can regenerate the area and build a national stadium that then can be used by Manchester United. From a business point of view, we're in this position because of the Glazers, and this is what Sir Jim Ratcliffe is trying to do. And it was probably one of the big appealing points for the Glazers when they were thinking about selling all of the club to Qatar or selling 25% of it to Sir Jim, because Sir Jim probably said as part of his pitch, I've got friends in government, I'm going to try and get us that stadium built by the government. And the Glazers probably thought, bloody hell, well, that's one of the big reasons we're looking to sell. Let's get on with it. Sarah Todd says, we are very pleased that she's part of the council there. We are very pleased that Manchester United have confirmed their commitment to remaining at Old Trafford, their historic home, and welcome the prospect of a renewed investment in the development of a world-class stadium. This contradicts it for me. I don't think we are missing what the brief is, but then she comes out and said that we're very happy that their commitment to remain at Old Trafford. As plans for the stadium and the neighbouring Trafford Wharfside area, we have a great and unique opportunity to transform the engine room of Greater Manchester. And Andy Burnham, who is the mayor of Manchester, says the development of one of the most iconic stadiums in the world football will help attract investment, create jobs and lead to new opportunities. That will not just benefit Trafford, but communities across our city region and beyond. Greater Manchester has been a hive of innovation and creativity for centuries, and sport has played a huge role. This bold and exciting vision for the future of Old Trafford and the surrounding area can become another success story for our region. I mean, look, I'm reading it that this is about a new stadium, but then, you know, you've got other people saying, I'm so pleased that they've decided to stay at Old Trafford. I'm a little bit confused by it, to be honest with you, because I read it that we're moving. And when you read what was said in the Telegraph article by James Ducker, I mean, this is what they said there. Sebastian Coe will spearhead a special task force to explore the potential of creating a new stadium for Manchester United as the centrepiece of a wider regeneration. The so-called Old Trafford Regeneration Task Force will be chaired by Lord Coe, Gary Neville, Sir Jim Radcliffe and others. A Wembley of the North. And it would be a new stadium could support wider renewal of the area surrounding United's current Old Trafford home and drive social and economic improvements for the entire region. So I'm reading it that it's a new stadium, but I can't lie and say that some people involved in it are talking about, I'm delighted that the United are staying at Old Trafford. There's nothing clear about it, says S. Madison. Well, I'll tell you what's interesting. We've got a poll going here. I'm somewhat surprised by this. We've had nearly 3,000 votes already. 58% say you'd rather renovate Old Trafford. 42% of you want a new stadium. Look, I think people are just really disrespectful. I tweeted it that, you know, I hope it's not a new stadium because I want to stay. And that's my opinion. I know it's a minority opinion. Well, apparently it's not here, but I think it is a minority opinion, and I'm comfortable with that. I get it. You know, there's so many fantastic modern stadiums out there now, and the prospect of building one that Man United play at, I get it. It's like a shiny new toy, and that, you know, some people want to do that. I have got total and utter respect, and, you know, I don't share your enthusiasm, but, you know, sometimes I genuinely see people get things in life, and I'm pleased for them. And I'm pleased for those of you who want a new stadium and are excited about this story. I genuinely am. This is not, you know, sometimes I'm like, I'll get stuffed. You know, I'm not pleased when Man City score a worldie against us. I feel sick. But I know some of you, I know you want a new stadium, and I'm happy for you that you're excited about this. I get that. But it's a really weird topic, because when I said that on Twitter, I just got a load of replies about, you've never been to Old Trafford, so what do you care? Well, I've never seen the Statue of Liberty, but I wouldn't want it to get knocked down and moved to bloody Stoke. I wouldn't want that. And there'll be a lot of you that have never been to Old Trafford, but you see it every week, twice a week on TV. You know, it's still the Holy Grail. And I have been to Old Trafford, I've played at Old Trafford, and I've been to Old Trafford numerous times throughout my life. I've been to Old Trafford in its previous guise to what it is now. I went to Old Trafford. I was fortunate enough to go to Old Trafford a few times, you know, as a very young lad, before it got renovated to what it is now. So, you know, Old Trafford to me is magical, and it retains that magic every time. And also, I'm very fortunate that the United Stand studio is a stone's throw away from Old Trafford. So not only have I been to Old Trafford, played at Old Trafford on match days, etc., I also go down there numerous times a year just to walk around and do stuff. You know, it's not just about a match day. It's a fantastic atmospheric place to be, as many of you will know. So, but people are so disrespectful about it. You know, I say I don't want us to move. Oh, fuck off, you fake fan. You've never even been there. And I'm like, I'm happy for you if you want a new stadium. Like, why is it if you don't want it, people start shitting on your parade and disrespecting you? I don't want us to go. If Gary Neville wants us to go, if Sir Jim Radcliffe wants us to go, if you want us to go, fine. As I said a few weeks ago, I'm not going to chain myself to Old Trafford like people chain themselves to a tree. I can't stop what's going to happen. I'll just be very sad about it. I don't want it to happen. I'm against it. But, you know, it's not for me. And I'm not party to the situation. And ultimately as well, if somebody's going to pay us to build a state-of-the-art stadium from the government, then, you know, Sir Jim Radcliffe's obviously come in with a plan. He's got friends in the government. He's got friends who know what they're on about. And he's obviously, you know, had this planned before he even came to Manchester United, because the progression of it is really quick. And I would say that the Glazers knew about this and Sir Jim knew about this a long time ago, because this is really quick. We've got plans for a new stadium before we've got a director of football. So they'll have known this for a while. It's about money. We can't afford to pay for a new stadium ourselves. We probably can't afford to renovate ourselves. Manchester United are so locked into debt because of the Glazers. Our only way of sorting out Old Trafford is to get the government involved and get a bailout on some regeneration projects that we can be part of. That's how shameful our position is that we can't build our own stadium because the Glazers have bled us dry. So Sir Jim Radcliffe has got to try and do some regeneration project to get the money. I mean, there ain't no way Sir Jim or Ineos or Gary Neville would be involved in this if we had the money to build our own stadium. Gary Neville probably would because he's interested in the Manchester area, but Sir Jim's doing this because he wants a new stadium. And if he can put a new stadium in a regeneration of an area, then you can get some governmental money. It'll be interesting to see if it gets passed, but it seems to have momentum. And, you know, I think the cold, harsh fact is that this is probably the only solution, and it's very, very sad. And I said it a few weeks ago. If we leave Old Trafford, it's not Sir Jim's fault. It's not Ineos's fault. It's nobody's fault other than the Glazers. They bled us dry. They never reinvested in the stadium. They never kept the stadium going. They let it rot and rust in front of us. And now the only way is probably to knock it down. And that's really sad, really, really sad. And the reason I would like to stay at Old Trafford is the same reason when I go to Highbury and then go to the Emirates. Highbury's got more atmosphere. Highbury's been turned into flats, but it's got more atmosphere. The Emirates is a fantastic stadium, but it's just a modern stadium at the side of a road. It doesn't feel like anything. You go to Highbury and it feels like something. And I think the same with Goodison Park. They're obviously going to leave that. I think Everton fans will feel the same. But look, I'm not raining on the parade. I'm just expressing what I would rather happen. I don't want to leave Old Trafford, and I think I'll always regret it when we do, but it's got nothing to do with me, and we could end up with something absolutely amazing. The Bernabeu is not a new stadium. It's a renovation. The Nou Camp is not a new stadium. It's a renovation. Wembley is not a new stadium. It's technically a renovation, knocked down exactly in the same place. So, you know, maybe that's still an option, the fact that they're mentioning that. This isn't somebody paying for our stadium. This is our taxes being used to pay for a stadium Americans neglected. How is this different from the Glazers, says Nida. Mate, you know what? There's an interesting political question, and I think that there will be a lot of frustration and anger from other clubs and other fans if we get a stadium built for us. But the bottom line is, I can see why Ineos and Sir Jim are doing it, because I just don't think we've got any money to build a stadium. Hi, Mark. Can we expect to see you laying down in front of the bulldozers? No, Robbo, I've already said I won't be doing that. And look, I don't think people can, you know, we're almost living in a world where people can't understand different opinions anymore. You know, manners are disappearing from society, as we know. You know, I was in London the other day, and it was hilarious how it was hilarious how the you know, you get off a train these days, and sorry, I know, Ben, you need to stop phoning me, mate, because you're going to get yourself in big trouble. Everybody knows who it is, and it's been looked into. What I need to know, what I was going to say is that, you know, when I was in London the other day, there's people who are trying, you know, you're getting off a train and people are getting on the tube before you get off it. Like, society's changing. I think manners are changing, but I don't really have an issue with people who want. I don't have an issue at all with people who want a new stadium. I don't have an issue with it, because it's just an opinion. It's like if we go down the pub later and you want a pint of Guinness and I want a pint of beer, we're not having the same thing. So yeah, it's absolutely. I don't have a problem with it. I'm not arguing about it. It's not like I think we should. You know, I want Ten Hag over Pochettino. That was quite, you know, a very divisive argument, where I felt Pochettino was an absolute mistake, and I was very happy with Ten Hag. But you know, I'm realistic. I'm realistic. You know what? If I'm being harsh, I realise that staying at Old Trafford and renovating it is a fantasy. I think that's what it is. I realise that I'm arguing for something that's not a reality. I want to stay at Old Trafford. I want to stay where we are. I want to renovate it. But I also know the reality of the situation is we can't afford it. And the best solution is to get government funding in this regeneration project and build a stadium that's the Wembley of the North. We should be doing that ourselves. We should be paying that for ourselves, but we can't afford to do it. So as much as I hate the idea, says Adrian, a new stadium with a retractable roof for all year-round events will be more financially benefit to club in FFP times, says Adrian. Yeah, and I agree that's exactly right. But I think the sad thing is that the reason we're in this situation is because the Glazers bled us dry. And Robert McCormack says, I think they're saying new stadium in the same place. How do you do that though, Robert? I think it's very unclear, Robert, to be fair. But it's a great point because you can read the comments of the lady who's involved from the council, and she's saying, I'm very happy that Manchester United are going to stay at Old Trafford. But then you read what Gary Neville and Sir Jim are talking about, a Wembley of the North. If we build on the same place, we can't play football there for I don't know, how long does it take to build a stadium? If we build it 100 metres away, we can play in the current one until the other one's built. I don't think we'll build it on the same place. I can't see us building it in the same place. I think we'll build it a few hundred metres away from where we are now so that we can play in the current one, move into the new one and knock the current one down. Because if this is all about money, and I think it is, then why would you knock Old Trafford down for 2 years to build a new one? Where are you going for 2 years? Whereas if you play in the current one, build a new one, last game in the old one, new game next week there. You don't lose any money. Whereas it will cost you the same. To break it down in a very simple analogy, if you've got the money to build yourself a new house, but it's going to take you 2 years to build it, would you build it next to your house and live in your current house? Or would you knock your current house down for 2 years and live in a caravan? And I think that, that's what I'm talking about, really. Why doesn't Sir Jim fund this stadium himself instead of asking for handouts from the taxpayer? Qatar would have funded it themselves, says Nida. Because Sir Jim Radcliffe's a businessman. And he doesn't own all of the football club. You've nailed it. Qatar would have owned the whole club, 100%. 100% their club, and maybe they would have done that. But Sir Jim doesn't own 100%. He owns 25%. He's a businessman, and he will look at ways of almost like a CEO, really. He will look at ways that are going to make him, make the club money. This isn't somebody paying... Nida, thank you very much for that. I reckon it's possible, a good middle ground, but good points, says Aman. And just a thought, is it the current government or the new government that's coming in, says Robert? This won't get signed. It's a very good political point. If you're not fully aware... I suppose the big question is what is the likelihood of the government actually allowing this to happen and, funding the regeneration that includes a new stadium for Manchester United? And who owns the stadium? There's a few things that are sort of political for me. The first one is, if the government are going to pay for a new Stadium of the North, how are we going to make money from it? How will that work? If we're not paying for it, why would the government go, there's a couple of billion, we've built the best stadium in the land, it's yours? How would that work? Surely it's a loan. Surely they take a percentage of the match receipts. I don't know how that actually works. The second thing is very, very important as well, is how long will this take? Because there is a general election this year in the UK. We have a Conservative Party and we have a Labour Party. By the end of the year, I think we'll have a new government, which is the Labour Party. Now, are they going to be more open to this? Probably. Gary Neville's Labour. So look, I think Andy Burnham, the Mayor of Manchester, is Labour. So maybe this is all banking on a new government at the end of the year, which will be Labour. Because a Conservative one maybe wouldn't go for it. Absolutely devastated about the talk of moving, says Daniel. Thank you very much for your super chat, Daniel. Could we not use Old Trafford for the youth and the ladies game and for training sessions we could watch, says Alec. We can't. I think that's always been a fantasy. We can't keep Old Trafford and build a new stadium and then keep Old Trafford. Old Trafford would still need renovating. Like, it still has a leaky roof. you'd still have to spend millions on the old ground. Why would you build a new one and keep the old one and then pay to keep the old one? You know, we're not that wealthy. We'd have to knock it down. Even if the government funded it, we will need to pay rent like West Ham do for the Northern London stadiums. So we may not even own it. I don't know. I don't know how it would work. But look, I think that it's an interesting development, and I think that ultimately it's fair to say that we're looking to build a new stadium, which was hinted a few weeks ago anyway. I think the bottom line is that we don't have the money to do it, so we need to get government funding. And I also think that we have got a situation whereby it's still going to be a bit of time, because this task force is going to have to present a proposal, and I don't think they'll do it until we've got a new government, and we won't have a new government until the end of the year. So I don't think we're going to be anywhere near being in a new stadium. Well, I don't think work on a new stadium would start for at least a year, probably longer. Then how long does it take? Does anyone know how long it took them to build Tottenham Stadium? I think that was 1.5 years. I don't see us being in a new stadium for at least 3 years, because I think this task force will take time, and CB says it's redevelopment of the area, and a main project will be a stadium. Yeah, I think we've established that, mate. Maybe if you'd turned up at the start of the show. It will take years, says James. Yeah, and obviously there are some interesting questions about how much of the stadium we'd actually own. Would we contribute to it ourselves? What sort of deal could we get? Because I'm sure if this got passed, there might be other areas, like Aston Villa might say, we want to regenerate Birmingham. Can we have a new stadium? Stoke certainly might put themselves in there as well. But look, I think it's a very clever idea from Sir Jim Radcliffe, if I'm being honest, because he wouldn't be putting this together if he didn't think there was an opportunity to do it. You know, the fact that Gary Neville's involved is quite interesting, because he's involved in a lot of construction projects around Manchester, which has changed drastically the skyline of Manchester over the last few years, as anybody will tell you. Yeah, I think it's interesting. What do you think about building a new stadium, knocking down Old Trafford, then building a new training ground where Old Trafford was, says Jacob? I think the overarching thing here is, Jacob, is we don't have money to burn. I think some people forget that Sir Jim only owns 25%. The Glazers are still majority owners of the football club. We didn't get bought by Qatar, and I think some people throw money around like we did. We can't afford to build a stadium, and we won't have money to go, let's keep Old Trafford as a museum, or let's build a training ground here, or let's go and spend £300 million in the summer. We are still a club that is financially fragile. I nearly said another word beginning with F, but we are still a football club that is financially fragile. And as Ollie said, there's no magic wand on the playing side, and I don't think there is a magic wand around the money side either. Not telling you that, Goldie, telling some of the melts it's because they haven't got a clue. Thank you, CB. Thank you. And either way, for any kind of redevelopment, Sir Jim will need council help, says the G-Man. Well, yeah, that's why they've got this Mayor of Manchester involved, and somebody else as well. Every party that will sanction the new stadium will get a lot of votes, and this is a big incentive for the politicians, says Radu. Yeah, exactly. This is a political movement now. It is a political movement now. Duncan Drasdo from the Man United Supporters Trust is on the committee as well. I forgot to answer or add that to it as well. Others so far recruited to the task force include Duncan Drasdo, member of the Manchester United fans, must basically. Tom Ross, leader of Trafford Council. Eamon Boylan, chief exec of the Authority and Transport for Greater Manchester. Anna Bensky, associate director of the Peel Group. Dame Nancy Rothwell, president and vice chancellor of the University of Manchester. And Malcolm Press, vice chancellor of Manchester Met University. So this is very political. You know, you get all these people involved from the council, from the local transport department, from the universities, and suddenly you've got a very big political animal to say, we want investment into Manchester, we want money, these are our plans, this is the... And also, the flip side of that is, if we build this will make a load of money because there'll be all these businesses and regeneration, and it's great for the, you know, community and diversity of Manchester and the expansion and business, etc., etc. So they may well be able to stake a claim to get this off the ground, and if they do, then we'll probably get a new stadium out of it. I suspect it's going to take a while, a few years, and I'd also query what the outcome is. Is it our stadium? We own Old Trafford. Would we own this? And what sort of deal are we going to do here for it to happen? Because we certainly want a few £100 million from the government to do it. Well, they don't give anything away for free. They're not going to go, oh, you know, my granddad supported Manchester United, I'm happy to give you £1 billion of taxpayers' money, because it's not the government's money, by the way, it's the taxpayers' money. It'll be Man City fans' tax. It'll be Liverpool fans' tax. It'll be, you know, taxpayers' money. So I'd be interested to see what the policy is. I'd have to read up on what happened with West Ham and you know, other clubs. But look, West Ham's ground was built for the Olympics. Man City's ground was built for the Commonwealth Games. This ground is being built because it'd be nice to have a Wembley up north that can play some England games. So I'm sure we'll get all that detail. I mean, look, this is step one at the end of the day, and it's step one towards a potentially amazing football ground for Manchester United, and I guess we will see. But look, Sir Jim Radcliffe's a businessman, a very shrewd and clever businessman, from nothing to a multi-billionaire. I don't think he'd put his name to this and start pushing for this without doing the research. And I think this could well end up with a new stadium for Manchester United. It might just take a bit of time. But we'll get more details as it develops. New political parties are needed worldwide, says Mo. And hi, Mark, do we know when the Sheffield rescheduled match might be? Have to book all new flights. Dara, I do not know. I don't think that they've announced that yet. So let me just double check. Where would it be? They haven't even done the back arse of April yet. So... I think that's, well, look, we don't play midweek football, but yeah, they've only gone to the 14th of April so far. So currently Saturday the 20th of April and Saturday the 27th of April, we're playing at 3 o'clock on a Saturday. So that will get moved. But of course, we could play midweek any week, really. Between in late April, we could play midweek against Sheffield United. But look, we'll have to wait and see, I guess. But you know, I'm excited that we're playing a match tomorrow. Of course, this doesn't interrupt or impact in any way my 8 o'clock show tonight. You can tune in for that as always. I'm off down the pub for a couple of pints, actually, and I will be back with you at 8 o'clock. What if the new stadium incorporated iconic Old Trafford features, says Geordie? Well, it will certainly incorporate the Munich clock. That'll be moved over. Of course it will. You know, that comes as standard. We will certainly do that. United could be ground sharing with Salford, says Robert. I think, Robert, we will build the new stadium a stone's throw away from the current one, and we will literally go from Man United are at home to Everton on Saturday at Old Trafford. Join us midweek for the Champions League game where we're opening up New Trafford just over there. I think we will build it really close to where we are. And you know, one thing that's very, 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 very obvious to me is that we've been bought by a group that is, you know, obviously wants to make Manchester United great again, but are also business people. And I don't think they'd build the new stadium on the current plot, because you're going to miss out on 2 years of revenue, aren't you? Mark, Sarah Todd said, we're very pleased that Man United have confirmed their commitment to remaining at Old Trafford, their historic home. I know, Lewis. I know. But then you read everything else, and it's all about a new stadium. Look, maybe we're knocking Old Trafford down and maybe we're building it exactly where it is. But I don't think we can take that at the moment. I don't think we can read into it with that at the moment, because this is a business decision, because the Glazers have fucked us for 20 years. This is trying to get money from the government to build an area and build a stadium. I think if we're that broke, which we are, then could you really afford to move away from a knocked down Old Trafford for 2 years while a new one's being built? And where would we go? Robert McCormack says, don't let them build over the studio. Yeah, that'd be funny. Anyway, look, thanks everyone for watching. Smash a like on the video. Back at 8 o'clock talking about football tonight, I want to talk about some of the stuff that Ten Hag said in the press conference and a few other bits as well. So I'm looking forward to that. 8 o'clock show on a Friday. Won't be wearing a dress because we didn't get 1,000 likes on the morning show when I was in there. So, you know, it is International Women's Day. And I did say that that would happen, but it didn't. We didn't hit 1,000 likes, so it's not happening. So don't get excited. I know there's a couple of people in the chat this morning who were saying, can you wear lipstick and makeup? I mean, I don't know what they were going to do if I'd done that. It sounded to me like some sort of free porn, but no, that's not going to happen. So there we go. Mark, during construction, where will we play home games, says Ryan. Well, I think we'll build it really close to Old Trafford and keep the current one and then move over from one day to the next. But if we did build it exactly where Old Trafford is, then who knows? The Etihad would be the obvious place to go, but I don't know whether that's palatable to anybody, really. We'll have to wait and see. Anyway, I'll see you at 8 o'clock. Thanks, everyone. Absolute legends. Nice to be back with you after I haven't been live with you since yesterday morning, so a bit of a gap there, but had a few things going on, so thank you very much for... I mean, I loved the show with Kev last night. I thought it was fantastic. So, yeah, thanks, everyone, getting involved. That's what it's all about, and I will speak to you all in a bit. Take care.